Okay, this is an ode to Petrovsky. I, like many other people, have decided to revisit Sex and the City. I watched it. I watched In Just Like That. I even did a recap for the first 2 or 3 episodes. Not sure. I didn't hate it at first, but it just kept getting worse to the point where I didn't even finish watching the season. I don't care for social commentary in my entertainment. Real life is hard enough. I want my entertainment to be light and guess what? Entertaining. I want to escape from reality to a fantasy world where life is easy, designer fashion abounds, bills are virtually non-existent, delectable food at the hottest restaurants is just another Tuesday, and you never gain weight. Every eligible man is vying for my attention. Like, that's what I want to see, quite frankly. I don't want to think about reality and how hard life is. So Sex and the City and Emily in Paris are those two shows that give me that escapism that I love. Also Good Trouble, although they do jam too much social commentary in there, but it's still an entertaining watch. I love LA. So I also started an overly ambitious recap of Emily in Paris season 3. I think season 3 was the latest season, but I have yet to finish editing it. Again, when I said overly ambitious, I mean it. I put too much on my plate, like above my skill level as far as video editing is concerned. So they're just sitting there in the abyss, but I'll get it done just to get it off of my to-do list. So people aren't talking about that show anymore, but you're just going to see it pop up on my channel at some point. Maybe by the time season 4 comes out, I'll finish my season 3 recap. Okay, so as I said, I revisited Sex and the City. I was one of the girlies who purchased the big pink DVD box set, and so I'm making this video to express my appreciation for Aleksandr Petrovsky. To be honest, I've always had a thing for Russian men. I did a Google search of Petrovsky photos, so they're just going to circulate in this video in no particular order. I don't own the rights to any of these images. I literally just pulled them off the internet. They're not good quality. But this is about my commentary, and I don't have a podcast, so I had to put some type of visual up there because I'm not on camera. So the first episode that Petrovsky appears in is called The One. And I must say, the first thing Carrie says is, I'm not dressed to hustle. And I say that all the time if I'm wearing tall heels or like a light fabric like silk or something where my perspiration is going to shine through easily. I am not hustling. You're just going to have to wait. And if you don't want to wait, I'll get there eventually because I'm not dressed to hustle. So I don't care about performance art. In truth, like Carrie, I'm not very arty. I enjoy looking at art, but I don't explore the meaning or the symbolism. You can miss me with all of that. I'll take in a good painting, but it boils down to, do I like it or not? That's as deep as you're going to get from me. So Regina Carter's Pavane is the refrain in this episode. I used to listen to that song all the time. And since rewatching this season, that song was back into rotation. I'm going to link it below for your post-viewing pleasure. So Aleksandr entered the series with game. He held that eye contact. And if Charlotte hadn't have spoken to him first, I wonder how he would have put the moves on Carrie. I'm guessing he probably would have waited outside for her or something. I mean, who knows? But he definitely has the bluntness of people who speak English as an additional language. I'm not going to say first language because he probably learned a few before he learned English. But the nuance is lost when you're listening to or speaking with someone who is not a native speaker of your language. So the idioms and the jokes don't always land. And it can be quite awkward, especially if you kind of rely on humor. That's not the best way to communicate with somebody who is a foreign speaker of your language. So I'm not reviewing the episodes in totality, so the B-plots I'm not really going to get into, but I have to pay homage to Samantha's declaration, and I'm going to use profanity because I'm quoting her. She said, "Yes, I need glasses, and I'm not ashamed. I have a sexy young man who loves to fuck me, and I'm fabulous." Goals, Samantha, goals. I like younger men too. And I too wax everywhere because I generally don't like body hair on men or women. And my hairs are turning gray every time I look down or look around, or even in my eyebrows and my nose. I have gray hairs popping up. And as she said, no man wants to fuck grandma's pussy. Now, these days, that's not actually true because these men are really quite ratchet. But I don't want to be grandma. So the way Petrovsky hunted down her number was also game. Like he called the gallery to ask for the friend and then got Charlotte's number and then got Carrie's number from Charlotte. I love that. If you want something, you have to get it. Like, the days of expectation from men are just really cracking me up. Like, if you want that lady, you got to get that lady. So I laughed out loud when Carrie hung up on him because, yes, the language barrier is real. But he addressed boundaries. He said, I hope you don't mind that I got your number from the gallery, from the blah, 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 blah. And he immediately asked her on a date. Like, yes, it was late at night and kind of strange, but both of the places he wanted to take her were public. So that's a good thing. He didn't ask to pick her up. He just told her where to come, and if she wanted to, she could come. And New York is a constantly moving city, so 3 a.m. in New York is not some big, big scary time. So when Carrie got there for the date, he did try to make jokes to ease the tension. Now, Carrie actually thinks she's funny, whereas I'm a person who jokes when I'm uncomfortable. Now, but I do think I'm funny. I do make light jokes here and there, but definitely when I'm uncomfortable, I'm trying to cut that tension that I feel with a joke here and there. So the banana in the purse was a cute little thing. And then later, when he gets the purse out of the cab and pulls the banana out, now that kind of ticked me off. Like, don't open my purse. I get that was supposed to be like a cute little callback, but no. If I don't give you permission, don't open my purse. Don't look at my phone. Like, just hand it to me if it's ringing. Like, that whole privacy and boundaries is a big deal for me. So bravo to Baryshnikov being in his 50s and letting the world know he still has the moves, chasing down that cab, leaping over obstacles, old aware. So when he said she was funny, warm, and light, oh, that was very sexy. And he was rubbing all over her at the same time. Like, I was actually swooning. But the difference is you actually need to be attracted to the person who is touching you. Like, if I don't like you, if I'm not attracted to you, please don't touch me. So from my experience, not facts, just my experience, men who are attracted to me assume that I'm into them. Even when I express that I'm not. I don't know what that is, but like, it's like I should be grateful for their attention. Like, all feelings are not required to be requited. So let's just make that normal these days. And then he made the move for sex. He didn't push. And he gave her one hell of a kiss. That was a sexy kiss. And 07's Polaris is another great song. I'm going to tag that one too. So I have yet to try black tea with cherries, but it sounds like a sexy thing to taste on your lover's lips. And Petrovsky might have gotten it that night from me. I'm not going to lie. That was a good date, and he's definitely sexy. So the next episode is Let There Be Light. So Aleksandr sent a letter for a date. Like, we really are starved for romance these days. I can't even imagine a man putting in effort like that. And it's a minimal effort. A letter in the mail, that's not hard. But the stationery and calligraphy was extra. But that's definitely something an older man would do. Like, my dad is older than him. So when I say older, I'm not talking about 50 like Aleksandr was back in 2000. I mean, like 70 plus is the age range that would send a letter for a date. So today's 50-year-old men in 2023 are still trying to prove the virility to these inappropriately young girls. So I just laugh when old men get mad at me when they realize that I'm older than I look. Like, literally, I have had men get angry at me because they assumed I was 10 years or so younger than I am. Like, bro, like, what do you want a girl in your 20s for? A man in his 60s told me he thought that I was 25 and didn't talk to me anymore because I'm almost 40. Like, bro, grow up. What 25-year-old wants your old tail? So anyway, tangent. Carrie is still making jokes. The last episode, I thought she was really trying to be funny, but now I think she's also uncomfortable with this mature romantic man because that's not what she's used to. So another Carrieism that I use, that I call any man who wants to be around me but not committed to me, I call him a lover or a man friend, and I get that from Carrie. Like I said, Carrieism. So I used to have Miranda's perspective on older men. I didn't care for old men for most of my life, quite frankly. It's only been the last couple years that I've been taking them case by case and just warming up to the idea of being with an older gentleman. Like, the economy is so fickle, and I'm looking for a man who is winding down in his professional life rather than one who is trying to build. Like, retirement is goals, and I don't have any qualms about that. So Alec has the whole floor. Yes, sir. That is yet another flex. Yes, sir. He has the whole floor. He also has Eames chairs. I have knockoff Eames chairs from Urban Outfitters. I have a video of me assembling them that I'm going to tag in here. So Carrie wasn't playing when she came to that man's house. She said, I came here to get my back blown out. I don't need the home tour. So the next morning, I'm surprised she didn't hear all the chatter and chaos going on downstairs when she woke up. His note should have warned her that his staff was there. Like, enjoy my big bed and my expensive high thread count sheets. Breakfast is waiting for you, and FYI, my staff is here. Like, that wouldn't have been hard to put in there. Because more than likely, when you wake up at somebody's house the next day, you're not putting all of your clothes on and coming downstairs. You're just kind of going to come down in your pajamas or your underwears or whatever is comfortable. So cut to Samantha was keeping it all the way real about a man with moves, a take charge man with game, like a man with an ego and the goods to back it up. It's hard to come by, even more so today than it was back when this show aired. Like, I'm so tired of the rhetoric that women only want bad boys. That is a bold-faced lie. Women like men who take charge and who can back up what they say. Like, a man whose words matches his actions, that is what matters more than anything. Do what you say what you do, say what you mean what you say. It doesn't seem that hard, but it really is these days. Everybody's just full of lies, or they don't even see themselves accurately. So men who listen and can show a woman a good time is what they really want. Like, bad boys tend to make the first move. They don't wait months stalking and lurking and staring from afar, imagining who a woman is instead of getting to know her and then being angry that she's not the fantasy he concocted in his mind. Like, these are all real scenarios of the dating world today. So one of the many reasons I like revisiting old TV shows and movies is because I like to see how the world has changed or stayed the same, like especially technologies. Like, I really love watching 90s stuff where they have those big old brick cell phones. Like, those crack me up, but they're so cool. I actually want one of those purses. I've seen them out there somewhere, but I haven't really investigated how to find one. So who would have thought that Google would take the world over the way it did? Like, when this episode aired, Google was the hot new technology. Like, Google, what's that? So, real talk from Carrie in writer mode. When it comes to men, even when we try to keep it light, how do we wind up in the dark? And that is, gosh, I wish I knew. So the Richard Samantha Smith dynamic is a topic for another day. Like, if I were to seriously consider a poly relationship, that would be the ideal scenario. But I'm not really sure who the primary would be. Like, I'm leaning towards Smith because he actually cares about Samantha. And then Richard would be the jet setter on the side while Smith is away filming movies. But that's not actually how poly relationships work. I guess maybe that's just an open relationship. I don't know, there's so many titles these days. So I absolutely love thoughtful men. Carrie said Holland is the land of the wooden shoe, which it actually is. And Alec brought her back a pair of wooden shoes. Like, gestures don't have to be expensive, just meaningful. And I'm not saying that I don't want expensive gifts. I mean, I am a Taurus, like, through and through. This gal likes money. And so Carrie asked for monogamy and got a straight answer from Petrovsky. No pulling teeth. He says she's the only one he's seeing. I'm not interested in anyone else. And that was that. He didn't say, I want you to be my girlfriend or anything, but just that, I'm in it with you and let's see how it goes. And that's real talk. And so the next episode is the Ick Factor. The Russian has a Steinway. Goals again. I'm telling you, like, everything about him is just like checking all the boxes. So he wrote a song for her and he has her eating cherries. Remember, she says she's not really into fruit, but now she's got a bowl of cherries. And now I know this is anti-feminist, but I'm going to be honest, I'm a much better person, like, just generally when I'm in a relationship. Like, I eat better, I have more energy, I work out consistently. I always lose weight when I'm in a relationship, like, across the board. When I have a man in my life, I'm just better at remembering things. I work more efficiently. I'm content being single. Let me make that disclaimer, make it plain. I am content to being single, but I am happier when I'm with someone. So there, I said it. Many things in this world are just designed for two people to enjoy, and that's facts. So later in the episode, Petrovsky reads her poetry and Carrie, again being uncomfortable, inserts comedy into the situation. And what a flex when he said, Oscar is good friend of mine. Like, and then he got her the dress. Like, I mean, just like the wooden shoes, she said it, he listened, and he came through. That is just amazing. So Carrie had been laying boundaries this whole time. She told the Russian that the romance was getting too heavy for her, and he lightened up. Like, my dad used to recite poetry to me when I was sad. So I know the relationship standards that I have are not far-fetched. It's the life I experienced. But then again, my dad was 40 when I was born. So I acknowledge that just generationally, men have changed. I'm going to have to be with an older man for the kind of qualities that I want, or a man who was also raised by older parents. I'm not ruling that out. So yeah, unlikely, yes. Impossible, no. Unrealistic, no. Unlikely, yes. I get it. So anyway, I'm with Miranda when it comes on the simple nothing for a wedding. Like, I just want to have a party with some vows jammed in there somewhere. Like, with my parents being dead, and the family members I actually talk to, I can count on my fingers. A wedding really isn't a benchmark occasion for me. But Harry's romantic night was super cute. The food poisoning was an unfortunate side effect, but it definitely set the stage for everlasting love. Like, all the facades are dropped when you're sick, and Charlotte can't pretend to be Miss Perfect anymore now that she's spewing from both ends. Like, that's not sexy, but that is everlasting love. And when Samantha was at the bar scouting boobs, I wonder if the actress with the ridiculously big boobs knew they were going to say that about her. Like, if I ever got into the acting game, I don't want to be the sassy fat friend. Like, I'm Don Omegle or that's it. And side note, when they were in the Baccarat store looking for a wedding gift for Miranda, I always wanted a Baccarat or Steuben bar set. So if I ever do get married or buy my dream house, that is going to be on my registry list. I wish I felt for my body the way Samantha describes. Again, I'm using profanity because I'm quoting her. My legs are fantastic. I have killer abs. My ass is perfection. Like, I'm trying to get my body in order. But like I said, I'm better with the man of my life. And that's the catch-22. And actually the next episode is catch-38. So catch-38, the Russian gave her keys and an alarm code after 2 months. Like, I've never believed that relationships need to simmer and slow burn for years. Like, you know how you feel about somebody in the beginning. Dating lets you know whether those feelings are long-term or fleeting. Like, people make it so hard when it's really not. Just staying together is the hard part. I'm not going to minimize that. But deciding if you want to be with somebody is not that hard. So more Samantha side notes. When Samantha huffed out of the doctor's office, I'm so glad Carrie didn't apologize for her. Like, she was polite as she exited, but she did not dismiss Samantha's scene, like the scene that she made and the points that she made. She just said, okay, well, we're out of here. But didn't say sorry for my friend. Like, I'm just so glad she didn't clean up after her. And Magna being the nanny and the housekeeper is also amazing. Now, when I was stupid in love a few years ago, and when I say stupid, I mean stupid. I was stupid over this man. I wanted to have his baby. Like, if God had given me my way, I would have had a quarantine baby, and my life would have been totally a total hot mess. Like, a total hot mess. I'm so glad I didn't get what I wanted. But at that time, my grandma's home healthcare worker was really trying to strategize how we could make it work. Like, she was like, you don't need to get married. You can just have a baby. And then, we can split our time here. I can watch the child. Like, she was really like, okay, let's make it a village. Let's bring a baby into the mix. So, shout out to you, Marva. Let's see. I like Carrie in her little Jackie O outfit prancing around with Brady. Carrie being in love, watching the Russian play with the baby, definitely made her ovaries jump. And unless you just staunchly don't want kids, then the stars in her eyes are absolutely real. Also, they're playing the Peter and the Rabbit orchestra, blah, 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 in the background. I used to play that for my niece all the time when she was young. So it is very reasonable for the Russian to get a vasectomy. Like, a smart move. I don't understand why men who are capable of mass impregnating women are so reluctant to take control of their own fertility. Like, vasectomies just make sense. If you don't want to have kids, stop spreading your seed. And it's quite easy to do. So, another quote from this episode is, why should I give up a man for a baby I'm not sure I want? And that is my current status today. Like, I wasted my 20s waiting for a husband. And I didn't live in those years. I was just sitting around being a virgin and trying to be a good girl waiting for a husband. And now I'm knocking on 40. And the only regret I have is not being more wild. Like, I wish I had jumped on those planes and taken trips and had more sex, quite frankly, because the time to do that is over. So I turned down so many exciting opportunities and fun flings and things like that because I wanted a serious relationship. And guess what? I still don't have one, and those days are gone. So anyway, Alex said, I like my life the way I like it. Like, I don't want any more children, but if you do, you should have it. And being a parent is an extraordinary thing, and she should have it if she wants it. But it's not going to be with him. Like, very clear boundary. Both Carrie and Alec have been putting down clear boundaries this whole time. So the blow up they have towards the end of the season just doesn't make sense to me. So Alex said again that he knows who he is. He's not changing, and he gave her an out. And then he described his marriage as 7 years, 5 of them good, and they split. And that makes perfect sense to me as well. Like, that's how I treat relationships in general. If we are happy, great. But if one party is not happy, let's discuss it. If we can't work it out, we go our separate ways. No drama, no cheating. And if it was a situation where money is involved, then we need to have some type of contract in the mix if we're mixing our finances. And so we come up on the next episode, which is Out of the Frying Pan, and that relates to Samantha and her cancer. So let me just say, they start the episode with Carrie going to all kinds of little pockets of the city that she's never been to before. And dating a foreign man is an exotic experience because the way they live so differently in the same city truly is amazing. And I've dated men from all kinds of countries right here in South Florida, and each man has opened me up to so many new experiences that I didn't even know existed based off of whatever culture he's from. And when Alec killed that rat, goals again, I don't know how many times, I don't know how many times I've said goals, but like, the man is just doing it for me. So I have dealt with more than my fair share of critters in houses, and story time. I had a man over once, a big man, like a very large man, and I had a rat in my house, and he was behind me as I fought the rat in the trap. Actually, he wasn't even behind me. He was in my bedroom on the other side of the bed, yelling at me from the room as I'm in the kitchen battling with this rat that was half in a trap. Like, just not sexy. I've never been able to forget that imagery of him hiding from the rat as I'm not going to give you all the details, but I'm battling this rat and he's hiding in the room. So, but Sarah Jessica Parker deserves praise for that scene where that rat crawls into her hair. Oh, I'm cringing. I'm gagging. I'm just, oh, if that ever happened to me, I might die. I might. All right, let me gain my composure back. Oh, my brain went there. I'm scratching my head right now. So I totally side with Carrie about the insensitivity regarding her situation about Samantha's cancer. Like, but that's also a cultural difference. As Miranda was saying, it goes back to what I said in the one about language barriers and removing that nuance. Like, sometimes let me see. If you watch Ted Lasso, and you notice how the Dutch player on the team is always so blunt and just totally kills the vibe every time. Like, that's the kind of situation that Carrie's in with the Russian. But, and then I noticed that Carrie leans towards violence when she's mad. Like, the way she yanked that coat from under the Russian, that was wrong. She's hit big several times in the past. Like, Carrie is volatile. And then they had a good conversation at the end where they were both able to express their feelings completely. And sometimes you have to shut up and let a person complete their thought before you encroach in with your opinions. Like, however helpful you think you're being, just shut up and let people talk sometimes. Like, that's a real thing. And that's advice that I have to take too. You know, you're so busy wanting to commiserate or to offer your advice or to tell your perspective or your experience in something that they're going through. But sometimes people just need you to listen to them. Okay, now we have the Cold War. Gosh, I actually really did take a lot of notes here. So Petrovsky is at the star table in the restaurant. Yet another flex goals, and the way he bossed up on Audrey Cook, the editor of Art Life magazine, he put her right in her place when she dismissed Carrie as a writer. But Carrie could have also said that she's been published, like when the hater asked her about her novelist, about if she's a novelist, she could have said, well, I write a column in the New York Star and it has been published. So, yes, I am a novelist. Thank you very much. But the Russian said, you are not sure. You are snide. Like, yes, sir. Tell that woman to leave your boo alone. So Miranda getting mad about Carrie skipping out on lunch. That was kind of annoying. Like, I'm with Samantha. Stay downtown with your hot man. Like, I expect for my girlfriends to be off the radar for a little while when they're in a new relationship. Like, you're going to come back to life eventually, but be booed up with your man for a little while. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you should be in your little bliss bubble with your boo thing. Now, if your friends need you, you also should be there for them. That's a different story. So Carrie comes home and OMG an answering machine. Now that is a device that just takes me back to childhood, seeing an answering machine. And Big's calling is just so typical. Like, they always come back when you stop thinking about them. My college ex is just like that. I cut him off after my dad died, though. Like, it took him a few years to finally understand that I was not dealing with him anymore. He used to call me from random Google numbers because I would block him every time. And to be fair, I don't hate him at all. Like, I would actually be friends with him. But every time I let him into my life, things just start going bad. Like, catastrophically bad. And right now, I'm hanging on by a thread, so I just refuse to risk it to even know what he's up to these days. And now that I've mentioned him, watch him pop up. So I'm with Carrie, delete Big, delete everybody who doesn't matter to you right now, and just move on with your life. And then, but also on the note of Big, I think they kind of started turning Aleksandr into an a-hole to make Big more desirable, because he started off as this, like, little sexy hunk of a man. But then the more Carrie got to know him, the more of a jerk he became. And I really believe that's just to make Big look like a better option. And boo. But the version said, "You're not my friend, you're my lover," and that's a much better thing. Oof. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. His colleagues are not his friends. His friends are in Europe. But he's happy to meet her friends. So when he stood her up for drinks, yes, that's disappointing. But he sent a bottle of champagne. Like, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's very thoughtful. And she should have respected his boundaries. Like Charlotte said, he's feeling inspired. He shouldn't stop work. Samantha said, "Are you sure you want to bother him?" And Carrie barged on in there anyway. He was not rude to them. He said, "Enjoy the apartment, but I can't stop what I'm doing." Like, I understand that it was embarrassing for Carrie because she imposed on him and she wanted a certain outcome. She didn't get it. Yes, that's embarrassing. But this is yet another clear boundary about his work. And they had a good conversation about it later. Now, the friends could have come into the apartment and had a good time and looked around without him. But I do understand, like, it was kind of an awkward vibe. But he didn't do anything wrong. So the end song for this episode is Illuminated by Arto Lindsay. And it's barely a 30-second fragment of a song, but it started a lifelong love affair for me. I've paid oodles of dollars to amass Arto Lindsay's EPs. Like, his CDs and my Sex and the City DVDs are relics from the past that I refuse to part with. I've been completely obsessed with his music since this little clip from all these years ago. And apparently Arto Lindsay and Mikhail Baryshnikov are friends in real life. They've collaborated on art in the past. So did I say that I love Arto Lindsay? Like, I do. Like, I really need to see him in concert. Like, I really do. And then we come up on Splat. So New York is over. OVER. I mean, that's iconic. Yet another SATC line that I say frequently. And most of the time when I say it, people don't even know what I'm referencing, because only a handful of my friends actually watched Sex and the City. So I say it to people who don't know what I'm talking about all the time. But Enid saying, "Why are you swimming in my wading pool?" Those are true words. Like, there are very few eligible men once you pass 30. And I'm so glad women are dating younger men, because frankly, it's necessary. Like, when it comes down to math, there are not enough men for the number of women available. So we have to explore options. Like, mathematically, you need to. So, as I mentioned before, a lot of social experiences are designed for two people. Like, even master bedrooms come with 2 sinks these days. Like, Enid can't even order fish without it being for 2. But fun fact, Barolo is the only red wine that I just hands down like. Like, I always like. It's not a hit or miss situation. If you give me Barolo, I'm going to enjoy it. And I only tried it because of this episode. I also started drinking Poulet Foussé because of Frasier. So the invitation to Paris was amazing. I'm not married to my city the way Carrie is married to New York. So, the hesitation, I didn't quite get it. But I'm not mad at Carrie for being embarrassed by Samantha's vibrator speech. That was inappropriate. Like, why are you talking about your vibrator at the dinner table? A dinner party. Like, ugh, that was so cringe. I love Samantha, but she does do a lot of cringe things. Then the Russian proclaimed that Carrie is going to Paris with him, even though she didn't agree. Now that was annoying. But he said he'd pay for her apartment. He has plenty of money, but not plenty of Carrie Bradshaw's. Like, I need that in writing. A minimum of 3 months buffer payments in case our relationship sours, no matter who wants to end it. I'm the daughter of an attorney, so I'm always thinking of the paperwork. Like, I know it's not romantic, but guess what? We need to put this agreement in writing, especially if I'm quitting my job and everything else. But Carrie getting into a hissy fit as to when her friends ask her all the questions, like moving to Brooklyn with your husband and quitting your job to move to a foreign country with your boyfriend are two entirely different situations. Like Carrie was a baby about that. She should have expected people to ask her, what are you doing with your life? If your friends actually love you, they're going to be concerned about your moves. So Samantha cut through the BS again, asking Carrie why she even cares, what people think about her choices. And then if she's so, and that's the truth though, if she's so serious about this man and so sure of what she wants to do, why do you care? So jumping ahead of the story though, Carrie being a published author, she should have some coins saved. And then blogging was the hot new thing at the time. Like she had a perfect market. She tapped into her French fan base like as soon as she got there or a couple months after she got there. She could have easily made a life for herself in Paris, and had the financial well-being to visit home. Like she could come home as much as she wanted to, and her friends all have money too. They could come visit her as much as they wanted to. Like there wasn't any real barrier to the move. So I tried to recreate Carrie's little vanity setup in her bedroom when I was in college. Like I had the mirror leaning on the wall and the lamp. And I actually have that set up on my dresser now, come to think of it. Like I even have little trinket bowls all over my house. So wherever I'm landing and I take off my jewelry, I have somewhere to put it so I don't lose it, because I have lost jewelry in my own house before. I don't know how that happens. I think it just gets sucked up in the vacuum at some point. I also have the Urban Shoe Myth Manolo Blahnik patent leather Mary Janes. Like I wanted them ever since the Vogue Idea episode. And I just bought a pair last year and I love them. I love them so much. So Carrie is right when she said she needs to quite literally move on. Like every one of her friends has a life and a relationship, and they don't all have the single gal free time to hang out. And as Carrie said, I can't stay here and be single for you. And most of my friends are married and mothers. So that's a real assessment of single life. Like my friends love me, but they don't have time for me the way I have time for them. So I have to entertain myself. I also appreciate that Patricia Field made decorative bras a thing. Like some of us gals need a bra. So kudos to her, and thank God for designer bralettes these days. I'm talking to you, Adela, which I have every color. And so the Russian had me at, I got your number from your friend who knows the gallery owner, but he really sold it for me when he said, I want to wake up. I want you to wake up, you see me, I see you, we go to dinner, we sit in cafes, life. Like, okay. You had me at hello. Like, you did. You had me at hello. Also, the Russian bought a good man for Enid. Like, yes, he's a hobbit, but he's smart, and he took charge of the situation when Lexi was acting up. Like, right before she declared that she was so bored she could die, and then died. He was there. He was like, ma'am, you're cutting up. You've been rude to our hostess. Now she has told you whatever. Like, Enid didn't have to ask him to take care of her. He just jumped and took charge. And that is what women want. Most women, I can't speak for everyone, but most women do. There is no through line for looks. Excuse me. As far as the men that I've dated, like no one looks like the other. None of them. Height varies, looks vary, complexion varies, race and ethnicity varies, size varies, interests vary. There's literally no through line. Although I do tend to like artistic guys, even though I said I'm not arty. I do like artist type men. The creativity, the freedom, the devil may care-ness, because I'm a very structured person, so I'm attracted to a little bit of wildness, but also like discipline too. I mean, my dad was in the Air Force, so I grew up in a military sort of kind of home, even though he was like long out of the service after I was born. Anyway, seeing your last single friend who admitted to being miserable fall out of a window will definitely push you closer to your loved ones. And the pure joy on Aleksandr's face when she said she'll go to Paris was amazing. Like that like little boy, like, yeah, you're coming with me. Oh, I loved it. And also Carrie is right that her column is not who she is. It's what she does. Like, she is a writer, but the column doesn't really matter. But Miranda's also right that Carrie is shoehorning her way into Aleksandr's life instead of living her own life. And, they were arguing, so Miranda didn't quite articulate it the way that I just did, but I'm assuming that's what she meant, and I put a winky face in my notes. So imagine me winking at you like that. That's what she meant to convey, even though that's not exactly what she said. She was a little short and snipey with her, but she really meant like you're giving up your life. So, gosh, I've been talking for a minute. I didn't even realize I wrote this much. American Girl in Paris, Part 1. So as Carrie was packing, I noticed that she had some pink suede Mary Janes. And I wonder if those are Manolos too. Like, I want them. I want those shoes. Aleksandr said, stop packing. There's clothes here in Paris. And guess what? He will buy them all for her. I mean, I'm putting that spin out there, but yes, let that man buy you clothes in Paris. Leave your stuff there so when you come home, it's like you never left. Like, people have multiple properties around the world, around the country. So I just find all this drama over being international to be so funny. Like, people don't have to stay in the same place. Carrie can come in and out of that little apartment whenever she feels like it. But all right. Anyway, the big subplot was just annoying. When I say big, I mean, Big the lover. I just really wished that they would have just let it drop. Like, it wasn't even a happy ending considering the movies. Like, the first one, he stood her up at the altar. The second one, she cheated on him. Like, why did they keep trying to make us root for this relationship when it's awful? And so Carrie's saying she doesn't want to arrive in Paris drunk. She wants to be impossibly fresh looking. Like, my very first job was with an international film festival doing the travel for the filmmakers. So when I tell you those people will be drunk AF getting on the plane when they left town, like, ain't nobody arriving wherever they were going impossibly fresh. They would party all night and stumble into the airport. So Carrie bossing up on the young woman that Alec was sitting with in the hotel was embarrassing for her. She knows he has a 22-year-old daughter who lives in Paris. Like, doesn't it make sense that that's who he is sitting there with? That was just such a dumb thing for her. A dumb way for her to react. And she's never going to live that first impression down with his child. Like, if that was my daddy and the person he was dating, because my mom died way before my dad did. So if the person he was dating acted like that, it would forever mar the relationship. So when Carrie tells the hotel clerk she's a New Yorker and he says, oh, like, I really wish he had rolled his eyes. Like, who cares? American is American to foreigners, though she's the foreigner in this scenario. So now here's another communication tip. Alex said he had a dinner thing, but he'll keep it light so they can eat together. And she gave him an out by saying, I'm in Paris. Don't worry about me. So therefore, he took his time coming home. Like, she said, don't worry about me. And then he did try to call, but the phone was on Do Not Disturb. So, yeah, stop crying about being abandoned like them. You told a man to do what he had to do. And then this last two episodes are definitely a testament that even if your man is providing for you, you still need to have your own life. So the fact that she left her laptop behind is a key indicator that Miranda was right. She just totally left her life behind. So the dinner with Alex's best friend would have bored me too, but it wouldn't have bothered me the way it just bothered Carrie. Like, let's not pretend that you've never had to sit through a conversation that didn't involve you. Like, hello, work. Hello, family, older relatives, men talking about stuff I don't care about. I've had men I've dated introduce me to their friends and their family, and I've dated foreign men too, and they're talking about stuff that I don't understand or even care about. And you just sit there and you smile and nod, and then when it's time to go, you go. Now, I would have thrown myself harder into learning French and made friends with Alex's best friend's companion. Like, she was absolutely gorgeous. So, her life in Paris is above the average. Like, there's no shame in riding the coattails of pretty people. Spillover perks are real and they're awesome. And I have experienced it because I have worked with celebrities for a long time and going places for free, getting the gift bags that they don't want. It's amazing, and I love it, and nobody knows who I am, so they don't bother me or try to find out who I am. And the diamond necklace for Carrie, ooh, swoon. I want that necklace too, but apparently it's a custom piece made specifically for this show, so note to any of my lovers who are listening, just know that this necklace is on my desire list. My grandma used to say, it's better to be an old man's darling than a young man's slave. And let me tell you, by the time I get this body to Samantha goals, the old man who's lucky enough to have me as arm candy must be able to buy that necklace for me without a payment plan. Like, just buy it. And so the last episode of the series, An American Girl in Paris, Part Deux. I don't know if I said that right because I don't speak French. So Carrie said the New York Star wasn't interested in An American Girl in Paris as a column. So again, I say she should have started a blog. Like, it would have been so aspirational and probably more successful than a column. Like, Hello, Emily in Paris. Carrie could have really made it into a movie and been banking. So anyway, Juliet is Alex's ex-wife, and she seems like she could be a friend and an ally too, being that they have an amicable separation, and the two of them share an interest in fashion, so that's an excellent bridge. The as soon as thing didn't bother me either. Like, Alec would have needed to get on my schedule. Like, I wouldn't sit around waiting for him in the city. Like, no matter what city that I'm in, he would have had to find out if I'm available for him. I wouldn't just be sitting around waiting. I haven't been to Paris in a long time, but when I went there in the early 2000s, everyone did smoke. Like, when I would get back to my hotel at night and blow my nose, it'd be black. Gross. I don't know if it's like that anymore, though. Alec wasn't lying about the exhibit, and I'm disappointed that Carrie wasn't more understanding. Like, the exhibit was his priority at that moment. She knows that. Considering how he didn't even have time to meet her friends because he was working. Like, she knows what kind of man he is. So after it opens up, they'll have couple time until the next thing. But remember, they dated for several months before the Paris situation. So there's no reason to believe that he won't have a long stretch where he's not busy again. And truthfully, she'll probably get sick of him hovering over her after the opening. So she just needs to get her own life. It was stupid to blow off her party for him. She should have called the restaurant. Like, I'm sure the concierge could have figured out how to find the restaurant. And she should have gone with Alec to be supportive. And the moment he dropped her hand, take off and do your own thing. Like, sitting there on the bench for an interminable length of time was just dumb on her part. And I'm not discounting him being selfish. That was absolutely a dick move on his behalf. But this behavior has already been established. Again, like, he has been clear about who he is. She has been playing a game. So there was another content creator. It wasn't talking about Carrie, but I don't really remember the subject matter, but it was something about desirability. And it was like, whatever changes you're making for a relationship, they need to be sustainable changes. Like, not something you're doing in order to get a person, but changes that you want to make for yourself. And that is very much true. Like, Carrie has been fitting herself into this man's life instead of actually getting to know him and deciding if that's what she wants. So again, Miranda was right. And now that this show is 20 something years old, everybody used to call Miranda like all kinds of slurs and whatnot and say they didn't like her. But 20 years later, Miranda is the one that's the most relatable. But back to the story. So I think this anxiety attack that Aleksandr had and him saying he needs her and don't let go of my hand was Carrie's codependent dream come true. Because again, as soon as he dropped her hand and didn't look back, she should have been out that door. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that his behavior is predictable at this point. And that fight that they had was forced. Like, I believe he didn't mean to slap her, but believe me, that's a strike you can't take back. Quite literally and figuratively, that was strike one. If it happened again, I would be out of there, no questions asked. You have put your hands on me twice. Not happening. So Alec told her that he could be good in a relationship for 5 years. Like, who's married for 7, 5 of them good. That should have been her marker in her mind. Okay, there's going to be roughly 5 good years with this man. So she should have always known that it would be a fun love affair that would eventually peter out. And hopefully she'll acquire her own vacation home in Paris or La Croix or Marseille or somewhere on the coast, and then have another place to visit. So, to sum it up, 44 minutes later, I want a rich Russian. Instead of studying German like I'm currently doing, I probably need to switch to Russian. Petrovsky was looking for a companion and Carrie was looking for drama. Like, people think her speech was romantic, but all I heard was drama. Consuming, inconvenient, can't live without each other. Love sounds like a catastrophe waiting to happen. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give SJP her flowers for running around Paris in heels. Like, those cobblestone streets are dangerous in flats, and sis did that. Now, they were little baby heels, but they were heels nonetheless, and she was getting up. So yeah, if you stuck with me this long, thank you. This was a very long review of a few episodes. But I said what I said. Petrovsky was it. He was the best of the lovers. He just wasn't what Carrie needed. And let's all take that advice to heart. Like, people don't have to be bad just because they're not right for you. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Please engage with me. I want to talk about this show. I love Sex and the City.